You know, in the family office, we have this saying, let your winners run. It sounds simple, right? But what happens when a winner runs so fast, it's actually kind of terrifying? Every single instinct in your body is screaming at you to lock in that profit. But what if you're about to sell a life-changing stock way, way too early? Well, today, we're running a masterclass on that exact problem.
And this isn't some textbook question. This is one of the toughest psychological hurdles in all of investing. You're sitting on this huge paper profit, and the fear, the absolute fear of watching it all evaporate can be completely paralyzing. So what's the play?
All right, let's make this real. This isn't just theory for me. I'm living this right now. This number, this is the current value of my position in a company called Nebius Group, ticker NBIS. It's a huge part of my mission to turn 75 grand into $1 million, and it has gone absolutely vertical.
And this quote, this just perfectly captures the dilemma. Taking that 10,000 pounds in profit feels so safe, so smart. But am I just cutting my prize flower, my best performing asset, only to take that cash and pour it into my underperformers, the weeds? That is the classic mistake that absolutely destroys long-term growth.
So, to make sure we don't fall into that trap, we need a system, a process. In this explainer, we're going to walk through my exact 5-step framework. We'll define the problem, check the bull case, really dig into the bear case, lay out our options, and then finally, we'll reach a logical verdict.
All right, let's start by getting into the weeds here, the specifics of the position we're going to be breaking down. The stakes, as you'll see, are very real. So here are the numbers. I'm holding just under 158 shares of Nebius. It's in my tax-free ISA account, and yeah, it's up almost 400% this year alone. Look, to get from 75,000 to $1 million, you need these kinds of massive winners, these multi-baggers. The real trick, though, is figuring out what the heck to do with them when one actually shows up.
So here's the very first thing you have to do in a situation like this. You have to completely ignore the stock price. I know, it's hard, but you've got to go back to square one and ask, is my original reason for owning this thing still valid? Or maybe has it gotten even stronger?
And in this case, wow, the thesis hasn't just been validated, it's been supercharged. The reason the stock is on a rocket ship is because Nebius just signed a massive infrastructure deal with Meta Platforms. Yeah, that Meta. Mark Zuckerberg is now one of their biggest customers.
And look, this isn't just market hype. This is fundamental. This is the real deal. My whole bet was that Nebius would become a key pick and shovel provider for the AI gold rush. This deal basically proves they're exactly that, and it confirms the biggest companies in the world are lining up to pay them.
But, and there's always a but, right? If you only look at the good news, you're just fooling yourself. A disciplined investor has to fight that natural confirmation bias and actively go looking for what could blow up the whole story.
And to do that, I've got my own little system. I use an AI agent. I call her Mary Jane, and she's basically my chief risk officer. I don't ask her for predictions, I ask her to poke holes in my arguments. So I gave her a simple prompt. Ignore all the hype about the Meta deal, tell me the single biggest risk to my investment right now.
Her answer, it wasn't competition, or the economy, or anything like that. It was one word: dilution. See, to build out all this stuff for Meta, Nebius needs a ton of money, billions. And if they don't have that cash just lying around, how do they get it? They print and sell new shares of stock.
And this brings us right to the heart of the decision. This is the central conflict. On one hand, the business model is working better than I ever could have hoped. The thesis is validated. But on the other hand, the cost of that insane growth is that my 115 shares are going to become a smaller and smaller piece of the pie. The business is winning, for sure. But the big question is, do I, as the shareholder, win in the end?
So how do we resolve this tension? You don't use emotion, you use a framework, a clear, logical process that lays out your path forward. In my system, there are 3 options, only 3.
It's pretty straightforward. Option A, we trim the position, take a little profit off the table. Option B, we pyramid, which means we actually buy more since the thesis is stronger than ever. Or option C, we just hold on and monitor the situation.
Now this right here is the most important part, understanding the trade-offs. If I trim, I get my initial cash back, zero risk there. But if the stock keeps soaring, I'm going to be kicking myself forever. If I pyramid and buy more, I maximize my potential gains. But if that dilution hits hard, I get absolutely crushed. And if I just hold, well, I get all the potential future upside, but I'm still sitting on that dilution risk. You see? There's no perfect, easy answer. It's a strategic choice about which risk you're willing to live with.
Okay, so we've looked at the good, we've looked at the bad, and we've laid out the 3 clear paths we can take. Now it's time to make the call.
My decision is option C. I'm going to hold and monitor. I am not selling a single share. I'm doing nothing.
So why? Here's my thinking. We are in the very first inning of this massive AI infrastructure build-out. This is the gold rush. NVIDIA is selling the picks and shovels. Selling my shares right now feels like packing up my gear and leaving town just as the first big nuggets of gold are being discovered. I'm willing to accept that dilution risk because it feels like the price of admission to what could be an incredible ride.
But, and this is really, really important, holding does not mean forgetting. The monitor part of this is the key. I've set a very specific tripwire, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the stock price. If Nebius messes up on the execution, if they miss a key delivery milestone for that Meta contract, then the whole thesis falls apart, and I will sell everything immediately. Because at this stage, execution is the only thing that matters.
And that's really the heart of this masterclass. You know, sometimes after you've done all the work, all the analysis, the hardest but also the most profitable thing you can do is just have the discipline to do nothing at all. The hardest part is sitting on your hands and just letting those flowers grow.